Gujral, and I have the privilege of organizing Helvetia's operations in this part of the world, in the South Asian region. This is the very first event here at 125 NCM. It's going to be the go-to art space, the new art space in the city. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Rose personally, also the Gujral Foundation, for making this evening possible. I'd like to take a minute to introduce the speaker for today, Ariana Pradal. Ariana is hot out of the hub oven from Calcutta, and is no stranger to India. She's been here before with an exhibition that she co-curated with Guntenbrine and Roland Eberle from Zurich. Trained as an industrial designer, she is now a full-time freelance curator and journalist, a design journalist. Today she is going to talk about functional beauty, and I give you the word, as they say in German, Ariana Pradal.
Now let's see if it works.
Yes.
Hang on. Does it work? Do you hear me better? They told me I need a microphone because they are going to take it. So if I don't, now it's better, huh? Yeah. Just tell me if you can't hear me. Okay. Very nice to be here tonight. Thank you very much that you made your way to this place and that you are interested in Swiss design. Very nice to see faces I know that came along. Thank you very much that you arrived. My talk will give you a short introduction into Swiss design. We have a quick look at the past and then actually stay at the contemporary and look what is happening today. At the end, you will see a download link, if you like. You can, all you see, download it so you don't have to write or take a picture of a photograph you like. So before we start talking about Swiss design, we have a look at Switzerland. Has any one of you been to Switzerland? Some have. Has any one of you heard anything about Swiss design? Yes? What have you heard about Swiss design? Some. Okay.
Swiss style.
Swiss style.
Minimal.
Yeah.
Swiss banks.
Swiss bands. Penny design as well.
Functional.
Yeah.
Unique.
I didn't hear that.
Unique.
Functional.
Grits. Grits.
We will go through and then you see if it matches with what you have in mind. You see the red dot on this big map? It's Switzerland. It's a small country in the middle of Europe, surrounded by 4 big neighbors: France, Germany, Austria, Italy. And you know how big the population is? You want to guess? We are 8 million people. So we are really a minority on this world. Be happy to see me here today. Do you know how many people Delhi has? 22. So imagine how many Swiss you can put into this city and still it's empty. And we can play it a bit further. Do you know how many times Switzerland you can put it into India?
Something to do with the figure of eight.
40 times?
59?
45.
80. 80. So, yeah, but I think we are not many people. We are a small country, but we still have some interesting output coming from this country. I put you on the right to landmarks, to touristic landmarks of Switzerland. The one on top is a bridge, it's the Landwasser Viaduct, that is part of UNESCO heritage, and down on the bottom is the Zichtblumenturm in Bern. And another look at the map. It shows you where the creative industry is based in Switzerland. You see there are a lot of dots around Zurich. So Zurich is the creative hub in Switzerland. And you see a few more dots. The bottom left, it's the French-speaking part of Switzerland around Lausanne and Geneva. That's the thing you know about Switzerland. But even these things need design, or they would not be as successful as they are today. You might ask yourself, is there such a thing like Swiss design? I would say yes, there is. There are three reasons to it, and for that we have to look at the past and the present. Switzerland used to be a country of farmers. We wanted the things we needed to be well done and functional. The beauty of the objects lay in their simplicity. Unlike our neighbors, we never had a royal family that actually needed these well-elaborated, close old objects. The second reason, I would say, it's the influence of modernism. We will look at that later on. And the third way is how we work today. What we can do in a country where labor is so expensive, you can actually just do high-end products. So we have to look at that as well. We probably, if you come to Switzerland and you bring a souvenir bag, what do you bring back? Probably you bring back this army knife. And the thing is, it's quite an old thing. Today it's an iconic Swiss design, but it was done in 1891. It was invented by Carl Elsener. And the nice thing was that it's a small size knife that you can open up and close it and take it along. The first one just had a knife, a screwdriver, and a tin opener. And today they have developed a lot. You find it with USB stick, with the saw, with the scissor, everything you want. We go very fast through the things so you get a good idea. I'm here at the end. You can ask me a lot of things. The beginning of the 20th century, so the increasing influence of modernism on art, design, and architecture. This Western movement hoped to become liberated from the social and political traditions of the past and to break into a new future. It was also intended that modern design should be guided by function. This was frequently expressed in visible and comprehensible constructions. Here you have, if we can say, like grandfathers of Swiss design, then these are three of them. On the very left you have Le Corbusier with his seat that he did just about soon 90 years ago. You might know Le Corbusier, he was the architect of Chandigarh, the important figure to India. And if we look at this chair today, doesn't look that revolution, but at the time where most of the furniture was very rich, decorated, he chose to take tubes that you use for water or anything like that. So he gave the chairs a very industrial look. In the middle, that's the Landstuhl by Hans Corey. For us, it's a very iconic piece. It was made for Expo in Switzerland. And as Switzerland has a lot of water, we use the water for generating energy, power. And so we were able to actually work aluminium, a metal that needs a lot of power, a lot of energy. And so the middle chair is made out of a very thin sheet that was molded into this shell. And to make the chair even lighter, Hans Corey put holes into it. On the right, you have a chair by Willy Gould, and it was made out of fiber cement. He had a mold and put this fiber cement like a sheet of paper around it, wrapped it, let it dry, and then he had the chair. Here on the left, you have another chair by Willy Gould that we just saw, the fiber cement chair, and a chair by Ray and Charles Eames that you know probably as well. They have been important to India as well with the research they did before they founded an idea. So I took this here because history sometimes can be very painful. They both gave this to this important competition at the MoMA for low-cost furniture. So Willy Gould on the left had this plastic Mulder chair. On the right, you have a chair that Charles Eames designed, made out of plastic Mulder. They gave both this chair into the competition, one won, and one didn't get a prize. One was produced and is still produced and sold, and the other one on the left, the Swiss design, has actually been forgotten. I like this too, to see that sometimes it's just time for the right idea. And it was time for this idea to work with plastic molded design on both sides of the earth, in the US, in Europe. But Charles and Ray Eames did it better. I like to show that as well. These are sneakers made by Gujral, try to say it, Gujral. And these shoes with the 5 lines were made so you could really bind your shoes like a glove onto your feet. And there were these two brothers, Brunner, that left Switzerland to the US, and they had a license to produce these shoes in the States. So nobody could say Gujral. So they actually say, oh, we make K Swiss, so the Americans can pronounce it. So what happened today? The Gujral company, the actual company, still producing in Switzerland, has 25 employees, but it's very, very small. And K-Swiss got a really big company that is owned by international holding today, selling a lot of shoes. This is probably the most sold Swiss furniture OSM, and it was invented by Fritz Haller, an architect. He actually built the factory for OSM, and then the owner, Paul Scherer, said, I like the system he has like a grid system developed for building a factory. Can't you take the system down to a furniture size? So they actually developed together, Pauscher was an engineer, this system. It's very easy. You just have a globe and you have tubes and you connect them to a system in any length, wide, height you want, and then you put in these metal sheets. This is Kurt. He has died, but we actually always say that he's a young, old designer. He was born in 1931 because his spirit was so young. And you see by the things on the slide, he loved mechanical systems to put them, to transfer them into furniture piece. So all these things you could are very light, very transparent, and you can make them big and make them small. Like the one on the very right is a bed, and it depends how big is your mattress. You have a mattress for a single person, just push it. You get in love, you buy a bigger one, just make it wider. That's Hannes Wettstein. He was very important for Switzerland because he probably was the first designer that actually went to Italy to work together with these famous Italian manufacturers most of the designers would like to work with. And Hannes typically for his work would be that he looks for new techniques, new solutions that could transfer into product, into furniture design. So on the left, the chair, the alpha chair that he did with Montaigne in Italy was something he borrowed from the car industry. You see, the chair is actually made only out of two pieces. The rest and the back legs are one piece, and the seat and the front legs are another piece. Then they covered it with 3 coats of paint, the same paint that was actually used for car. This is the Helvetica, the type developed by Max Miedinger. It was in the 50s that these sans serif types came. These types without feet, with the same thickness everywhere. And the Helvetica today is a type that is still very, very used. The spirit from that time to be a modern, sober type for communication is still very appreciated today. On the left, you see the notebook from Edward Hoffman. He used to be the boss of the type foundry, the Haas type foundry. And you see how he documents how the Helvetica has developed. And in his handwriting there is written, I think we got there. Now we can go into production with this type. Another important figure for typography in Switzerland is Ariana Pradal. Some of you might know him. He designed the logo for NID. So you see we have had long collaborations between India and Switzerland, even in the design field. Ariana Pradal came to NID in 1965 for the first time, having a lecture on European typography, and came back 2 years later, a second time, for 5 weeks to have a lecture and a seminar. He writes in his book, I quote him, I try to do something useful in the modern world out of the old script of India. So So he sat down with students and they tried to develop a script, a modern script for India. A script that would be a formal simplification of the types, like he had done with his European kind of types. And then he had two students that actually helped him a lot. And one, I don't know how to pronounce it, it's very good, but I tried. One is Ariana Pradal, who you see there, and the other was Vikas Satwalekha. Well, I'm getting there. And so they actually did this type that was called Neue Fruchtige Devanagari. And in 67, and Monotype, this type foundry, actually brought it to the point that you could go on the market. But then the boss said, we don't think India is ready for that. So they stopped it. And this writing that you see here has actually only gone to market in 2013. Long time. So it's good. If I start talking, then I have something else now. I show that it's Jörg Zinsmeier. It's a graphiker from Switzerland. He was one graphiker that actually built up a big agency. Switzerland is not made out of big companies in the graphic or in the design field. Most of the companies have just 4 or 5 employees. We are a lot of little companies, like 8,000 in Zurich, but we don't. We are organized in very small numbers. And Jörg Zinsmeier built up this big corporate identity company that then actually was part of Interbrand that had offices all over the world, maybe even in India, I don't know. But what we are really fond of is the design he made for our money. And we still have that money, but we won't have it for much longer. A new series is coming. But I think the most beautiful thing is we have our artists on the money. Which other country puts their artists on the money? And so we don't want that series to go away. We want to keep it because it's such a statement if you have your artist on the money. On 10, my favorite one is Le Corbusier. Then we have Arthur Honegger on 20. He was a musician and composer. On 50, we have Sophie Torberard, the artist. Then we have Alberto Giacometti on the 100. Then we have Ranu, the author, and 200. And Jakob Burkhardt, the art historian of the 1000. And believe me, I think I probably had 1,000 franc note once in my hand. So it's not the one you see usually. So we are done with the classics. We go on to contemporary design. If we look at the contemporary design on a general way, you can say contemporary design is organized by you have these little design offices that usually have a design head, and you have the name like Manes Wegstein, Alfredo Heberli. And then you have the agency, like I mentioned with the Jörg Zinsmeier. And then we have these little labels, something that is getting more involved, more in Switzerland, that designer actually start with their own label, with their own little company. They don't want to work for other companies. We first have a look at the big labels, big players in contemporary design. You probably all know Swatch, that was founded in 1983 by Nicolas Hayek. He and his team reinvented the watch instead of gold and being expensive, they produced cheap watches made out of plastic. They became a fashion accessory. At the beginning, the design was not very spectacular, but then the jellyfish came and it was extraordinary because you could actually look into the watch, into the core, in the mechanic. It was transparent and the straps were transparent as well. You saw the skin down underneath. And a few years ago, we kind of had a redesign of this iconic first swatch. German, but Vitra is not German. It's very much Swiss, but they have their campus, a beautiful campus, just over the border on the German side. So Vitra has many hats on. Vitra produces furniture for living, for offices, they have a children line, but they also have the license for Asia and Europe for plastics like the Means or George Nelson. So they're doing it very well. They have this classic line and they have the contemporary designers on the other side. But they also have, you see, that's the layout of their campus. They have a design museum. They have a house where they show their collection. And down there you see the house that was just built a few years ago by the Swiss architect Hans of Dömerow, where they used to display their product in a very nice way. Where they invited always other interior architects to do it. And right now the display was done by an Indian interior designer, but that is living in France. I think she grew up in France even. Her name is like India Madhavi.
She's Iranian.
No, she's
Iranian.
Madhavi, India Madhavi.
She's Iranian.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. And her idea was to take the spirit of Alice in Wonderland in it. You might know it. These are the Freitag bags. And the two brothers, Daniel and Markus, had this idea to do something out of recycled material. Not only to recycle it, but to upcycle it. They took like used tarpaulin from trucks, pipe tubes that you see around the edges, and the car belts. And every piece is unique, but still is part of a big community. Last year, it has been a project that has gone on much longer. They were actually looking for uniforms for their own people in the factory, and because there's so much looking on to be sustainable when they do something, they didn't find anything that what they want. So they actually started to look for producer for fiber that was not cotton, because cotton needs a lot of water and it's not good for the soil. So crazy like they are, they went to find different producers that produce hemp, flax and modal, and they're doing their own fabrics now. Then out of them they do these clothes, and when you're finished, you don't like them anymore, you can throw them away and they are biodegradable. It's only the knot that is made out of metal, and you can screw it away and put it into the collection for metal. Switzerland is no fashion country. Like I told you, we never had a royal family and we don't have any film business, so we don't have the stars that actually use these clothes. the only label that is successful in an international level that is showing their collections in Paris is Acry's, a family business based in St. Gallen in the east of Switzerland. St. Gallen is the city where all the textile companies were based before they all went to Asia or had to close down. One thing that is very important for Acry's is actually the touch, the feel of the fabric. And the line is very clear, sophisticated, elegant, and Albert Kriemler likes to work with architects and artists. They are very high-end, and I think it's like they make dreams come true, textile dreams come true. They use all sorts of material, craft material, but very high-end material. They put everything together like metal, feathers, sequins. And they have two lines. On the left you see the interior line, and on the right the fashion line. And the fashion is actually for Chanel now. And you know Chanel, but on the clothes it's not labeled who actually did the textile design. So it's quite a pity you actually have their textile quite used by fashion designer, but you don't know it. This is our publisher, Lars Mulder. He founded his publishing house in the 80s. He has on his collection a lot of architects, designers, artists, and he always says, my books are not only books, they are an object that you can touch, feel, even smell it. And a few years ago, he started with a second line about political issue. He did books on human rights, books on who belongs to water, the one you see here on climate change. But always layout and design in a very beautiful way that maybe is unusual for such topics. Skip that. No. Go on, go on, go on. Have a look at Alfredo. Alfredo is one of our very successful designer right now in the field of furniture. He has been working a lot with the Italian manufacturers, but also Scandinavians. And I think he's a poet, he is a storyteller. Like this kid stuff that you see on the right. By doing such little things like putting a hole in the wooden board or a hole in the knife, you can see a figure, an animal in it. Like the wooden board can be a wall. How do you say to this fish? Whale. Yeah, a whale. You don't have to see it, but you can. From the same generation is Frederick Dedelet. He loves quiet lines, relaxed designs, and he focuses a lot on details. On the left you see a cupboard made out of aluminium, and it's quite big and has big volume because it's done out of aluminium, but it's quite light. Atelier Oi, it's a trio. You know, we have the German part, we have the French part, and they have their office just in between these two parts of Switzerland. So they kind of bridge the two cultures. They do a wonderful job. And like the left is a lamp they did for Foscarini in Italy. And I think it's a good reinterpretation of, say, the classical chandelier. They have different sizes, and it's a light, it's a sculpture, but these bended aluminium sticks, they move. So if you have a bit of light, then they actually touch and you have a little sound to it. Big Game, another trio that is based in Lausanne, the French-speaking part of Switzerland. They will come to India soon with Helvetia, so see. I love the way they work. So you see, like on the very left, they did a family of handles for a Belgian company, and they took this this tool as inspiration to take the form for this handle. But then the facets are very shiny, so it reflects all the lights in it. In the middle, that's a completely new project that took over, and I like to talk a bit more about that because a Chinese woman that was grown up in the States and has been working a lot of time in the aviation supply field. She was looking for a designer to work with her to build up a new company. But she didn't want a designer that worked for her and go on. She really wanted someone that has the company with her. So, except of having their design studio, they now have a part of this company that is called Click or Click on Board. And so we call this kind of business model a design venture. You don't get paid, but you get the share if you are successful. And they presented this on-board collection in April for the first time, and Swiss is using it now. And what they try is to bring ideas that exist outside of the aviation into the cabin. So we are quite excited to see how they will succeed. On the right, the chair they just presented in Milano for matches. It's a children's chair, and it took quite a while to develop it because they said we took it very serious, like if you would do a chair for someone. Ueli Baruffa, he's a man in Switzerland. He's an engineer actually, and he works with farmers all over the place that are producing nuts. So these nuts are coming to Switzerland, are packed in Switzerland, and the design for it has been done in Switzerland by Bonbon. And what I like is these nuts are quite expensive because they are fair trade, you pay more of it, but they didn't decide to do it what you would expect, like with gold letters and black and make a heavy design, but they decided to make a very young urban design. They sell it in bars, in very cool bars in Zurich. They have it in fair trade shops, but it's working with the urban crowd as well. And as I knew that food is so important to India, I took some nuts with me that came from Kerala to open it, give it around. From Kerala to Switzerland, they were flavored in Switzerland, packed up in Switzerland, and coming back with me to India. All of her diamonds are recycled, and she loves to have diamonds that have inclusions in it, so they are not very expensive, but maybe a bit gray, maybe a bit yellow. And the necklace you see on the left is, she actually took pictures of linen sheets and she called it Gebirges Mountains. So she took these pictures, printed them on glass, then every single glass she put the white gold around it and made it to a kind of mountain scenery of Switzerland. You really get to the end, not much more. I chose Claudia Kavietzel as well. Her work is very different from what we know actually in Switzerland. It's very expressive, it's very personal. She loves music, and she says, I work like a DJ. I sample what I take picture of, my drawings, what I found around, and put them all together onto big wallpapers. On one hand, she's doing like her textile work. On the other hand, we have Atelier Pfister in Switzerland. Pfister is a furniture house that launched a young line. And it's quite a good thing because it gives a platform for young designers, lots of PR. And for Pfister, after having done carpet, linen sheets, now she's doing some ceramic work. So you see her very personal, expressive way on ceramics as well. Do you like the nuts? Do they taste different?
Yeah.
They do. This is another textile designer, Anne Douglas. And Anne has been working for 18 years now with Himatsinka in Bangalore. So she has been freelancing for Himatsinka for their collection for Europe and the US. She has, in that way, she has this way of working, but Anne Douglas on the right side, she started a big research project that was actually paid by the National Research Lab in Switzerland. She wanted to have textiles that were light, transparent, but absorbed a lot of noise. She calls it textile acoustic, because we have this problem, like in this contemporary architecture, acoustic is often very problematic and you have to hang in things that absorb it. So this was kind of a research she did, very engaging, and came up with these textiles that are unique now worldwide, that absorb noise very, very much. And to finish with the last designer, this is Bert Kara, and maybe similar to what we have seen from Anne Douglas before. These are designers that go one path further. They say, I don't want just to be a designer anymore and do what people ask me to do. So he said, it's like he starts to invent material. So he was looking for a material that could actually substitute metal or plastic, that you can achieve the same form, that have the same strength. So this is a material that is completely biodegradable again. If you don't want the object anymore, you just throw it away with the rest of your food, your plants, and it will not harm the environment. It's still quite new. We are quite excited to see what will happen with this material that he calls fluid solids. And to finish, I present just this collaboration between these two schools, the NID and the art school in Lucerne. Like you heard with Ariana Pradal, exchange has been done for a long time. This is a newer one. It's quite a wide one between the two schools. In one way, they have this student and teacher exchange in different fields: textile, graphic, animation, illustration. And on the left, you see there's this, they call it craft lab. Two people from Lucerne were over here a few years ago, and together with NID, but also with NGO from Gujral, they try to revitalize crafts, to help the craftspeople, the artisans, to find new ways to sell their products. So, if it can be of any use, please feel free to download what you have seen. And if you ask me again, is there such a thing like Swiss design? I would tell you again, yes, there is such a thing like Swiss design. Our past, the modernism, and the way we have to produce today. And like everywhere else, Switzerland has been exposed to the influence of other culture, and so we start to mixing everything up as well. But our roots are still very strong. I hope I could give you a very short and fast introduction into Swiss design. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me now. Thank you very much.